$43 million opening weekend. It's very low for a $270 million budget. Weak opening, worrisome for Disney. And the natural response that I'm seeing on the internet is that Snow White has gone woke. And of course, I believe that instantly because it aligns with my entire worldview. So I'm locked in, but I thought I would look into it more. And as I looked into it, I discovered really that we're at a real precipice, a real interesting time in the movie business, especially here in Los Angeles, especially here in America, that is, it's changing rapidly under our feet. And I want to talk about it more. So Snow White, while doing terribly across the board, box office wise, actually outperformed in red states. So possibly it's not 100% entirely on the woke backlash. And it could be more having to do with the fact that
so it's not woke enough for the blue states?
It's not woke enough.
Oh, damn.
Or maybe, Doug, it's possible that the lackluster performance of Snow White and Mickey 17 and Dogman and Captain America are not entirely on a woke, not woke spectrum. Maybe that's affecting some people's ticket sales. You guys are shaking your heads.
I don't understand.
Maybe I got to convince you more.
You keep saying stuff that makes no sense.
This is a podcast.
It's possible that the entire industry is going through some bigger problems. The 2025 box office is off to a terrible start. Not just Snow White, but every movie released this year is off to a pretty bad start. And we're way down from last year, which was already a bad year. So is the problem supply or demand? That's kind of what I'm going to go through today. Is it that there's not enough good movies? Or is it that people aren't wanting to watch movies? Or is it some combination of both? Let's go through this real quick.
I'm sure there's no nuance to this.
In the comments will let us know there's no nuance. And first thing people say is COVID. People will say, oh, it's reaction to COVID. Ever since COVID, people aren't going to movies as much. It's a COVID thing. I looked into that too. It turns out like every other out-of-home entertainment thing, like, for example, Broadway, sports, concerts. In the top right, we have people going to a live D&D show. These are up. They've recovered from COVID, and they are now up in sales. They've trended back upwards. Movie theaters are the only one of like out-of-home experiential type things that are still declining. So there's something unique happening in this industry. I want to take you back to 2024. I'm going to go back to last year. We're going to look at last year's box office and just get an idea. First of all, on the supply issue.
Have we considered that D&D might not be woke?
Possible.
None of those were woke.
They've
only movies are
part of
woke.
this to go back into the woke.
D&D has famously purged woke.
Yeah, there's no...
I know D&D, all those circles, famously right-wing.
Well, the Dark Elves
once you
purged
get
all the
Yard
woke
D&D,
characters.
all-white, right-wing
finally a show for...
for the non-woke D&D crowd. Anyway, 2024, we're going to start at the 13th best performing movie of the year. And I want you to see as I go through, as I count up, if you notice anything about these movies. So this is Beetlejuice, the sequel to a 80s classic that did pretty well. This is Gladiator 2. It's the sequel to a 2000 classic that did pretty well.
Uh-oh.
This is Venom: The Last Dance. It is a third part of a trilogy of Venom movies that are part of a larger Spider-Verse that Sony owns. That's part of a larger Marvel-verse. Okay? This is Sonic 3. This is Kung Fu Panda 4. This is Godzilla Kong: The New Empire. The 5th in the Monsterverse, but the 39th Godzilla movie. This is Dune 2. It's pretty cool. I don't know, we got kind of...
Hold on. Whoa!
This movie kind of
For the record, this one ripped.
This one kind of ripped. Still a sequel, okay? But kind of ripped. Mufasa the Lion King, a CGI remake of an animated movie. It's a prequel. Very necessary.
Is it
very
a prequel
important.
to the animated one or the live action
It's
one?
a prequel. Well, they call it live action, but it's all computer generated.
Are these live action?
Woke has just destroyed so many studios.
Woke
is
is
that the
just taking
pattern?
down.
Is that the pattern I'm seeing?
I mean, look how woke this Mufasa lion is.
You film real tigers.
Yeah.
Okay, they're real lions in the original Lion King.
I'm beginning to notice the trend here.
Are you noticing the pattern?
I mean,
Despicable Me 4.
oh my God.
And then we have Wicked.
Well, no,
Now,
it's part of
Wicked
the Wicked verse.
Wicked is, of all these 13 movies I've shown, I guess an original property, but it's based on a Broadway play, which is based on the 1939 Wizard of Oz movie.
It's based on the
which
most,
is based
one
on
of
a
the
book.
most popular movies of all time. This is not an original property.
Yeah.
But it is the first movie I could even call remotely not a sequel of what I've shown so far.
Sure.
super.
Which
a
is
sequel.
crazy,
but
right?
that's we're
This is-
fighting to say
This
that.
is what we're
basically.
fighting to say.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. We have Moana 2, Disney Back to the Well, Deadpool and Wolverine. Remember Logan? Did you guys see Logan?
Yeah.
Really emotional, powerful ending for the Wolverine
Made me
character.
want more Wolverine.
And then
yeah.
they said, let's bring him back.
Yeah.
Let's bring him back because there's more money to be made.
Logan is so good. It was such an amazing
And the
movie.
so
It's the Dune
undercuts
Part
it,
2
you
of
know?
movies.
Yeah.
And it's back. And then we have the #1 movie of the year, Inside Out 2, where they added more emotions to tell more of a story. And this did really well. One of the biggest animated movies of all time. I don't know if you saw a pattern from all of the top 13 highest grossing films in the world last year, but I think customers are seeing a pattern. I think they're starting to feel a little bit of fatigue from constant sequels and reimaginings of the exact same stories. And I went back to make sure I wasn't crazy here. And this is 1999, one of my favorite movie years growing up. This is, again, the top 13. I picked the ones that aren't sequels, and you'll notice it's a majority of them. You got The Sixth Sense, you got The Matrix, you got Big Daddy, you got Green Mile. It's a big mix, and they're not all CGI. They're not all, family action comedies. They're like a broad mix. There's a couple, Julia Roberts, she's overrepresented in 99, but there's a horror movie, there's a comedy movie, there's Stuart Little, there's a big mix. And even for the Zoomers, because I know Aiden is 12 years old, I went to 2006, and it's the same kind of thing. 2006, movies you grew up with, there's a lot of new IP here.
The
There's
start
Departed,
of the
there's
Clickiverse.
I just
Yeah,
tried
it would today. Today, if Click hits the top 10, there would be a Click 2, Click 3,
Yeah.
Click Verse, Click,
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying?
True.
We're in a different era. So things have dramatically changed, and studios have gotten more and more safe.
if we were to just look at the movies on this screen right now, we were joking about Click 2, right?
Yeah.
But these are like original properties that came out at this time. And then a lot of these did get a bunch of sequels, like Over the Hedge, Cars, Happy Feet, Borat, all got sequels.
You're right. Yeah,
And
100%.
those are movies that have come out in the 2010s and ons, in the era where this like trend, I feel like, kind of started. The Departed didn't get a sequel, so that's kind of weird. But
Did you watch The Departed? Not a lot of room for a
Not a lot of
sequel.
room for a sequel.
Yeah,
I
I
wanna-
just feel it's a bit of a Logan situation.
yeah, they bring him back.
We couldn't have got,
Departed
oh, you don't
verse?
think we could get Deadpool and Departed?
Scorsese cinema moment. I would love a Departed verse. Okay, so anyway,
There's
you
like
can see.
one character left.
You can see that Disney, but not only Disney, all these major studios have begun playing it safe. Investors are noticing, consumers are noticing. People are afraid, first of all, in a declining sales environment, to lose their job. So they only want to greenlight movies that they know will be a success. And now we're getting to like 4th, 5th, 6th movie. Like the
Yeah.
Pirates of the Caribbean series is long dead, and they are stomping on its grave because they're trying to recapture the magic of like a 2003 first time seeing Johnny Depp. Yeah, what's up?
Teacher, I have a question.
Okay.
How much do you think, which is maybe what you'll get into, of that, the fact that last year the top 13 movies were all sequels,
Yeah.
which is insane. Do you feel like that maybe it's that people do really like sequels, not that they're getting tired of it, right? Is it like those were the ones that were the most successful 13 movies? So maybe it's like this is what audiences actually want. Is there any
100%.
argument to that?
There's a huge argument to that in that it is working, but less and less effectively. It's like
exactly.
a drug.
It's
Okay.
following. We're
Like a
falling down the
short-term-
drain. That's exactly
Yeah.
what I was thinking
Yeah.
of. Right? Is like the repetition of the formula is slowly like think about sequels in the 2010 sort of era and how year after year after year box office record getting broken, right? And now we're kind of hitting the fatigue where it's enough to get some people going, but we're petering off.
The broad industry
And none of
is
the and
struggling.
because this is like the majority of movies coming out, I feel like less original films have the chance to be the next big hit or franchise or something like that.
I mean,
because
they
there's
simply
less of
aren't
them being
getting
made in the
greenlit
first place.
outside of streaming services. Like
Yeah.
in terms of box office, they are not putting them in theaters because they're too risky. So we know that there was a supply problem. People are at least in somewhat getting fatigued with the same thing over and over. But there's also, as you are going to bring up, a demand problem. You can just see a long amount of people, large amount of people, talking about how their consumption habits have changed around movies, which is that streaming services and the ease of being at home have changed their ability, and COVID in some way changed their buying habits of like actually going to a theater. It thought it was a temporary phase. It's not, and they're spending more and more time watching things at home where it's cheaper, easier, they have more control. And some people are sad about that. Moviegoing is not what it used to be, and it's leading to a shrinking pie that is being filled only with sequels and safe properties. But there's also one other aspect of the demand that I want to bring up, which is that Maybe older people are leaning more into their home, but they're still watching a lot of movies. However, among younger people, especially younger than us, they're choosing our content. They're watching Lemonade Stand instead of going to the movie, or they're watching I Show Speed, or they're watching. I mean, that's the two.
Never
that's
mind.
us and I Show
Never
Speed.
mind. Let's Despicable Me 5. Push it
Send
out.
it out.
I don't care.
Moana 10, keep it coming. Whatever keeps
coming.
us watching. So they're choosing creator content over premium TV and movies. YouTube is one of the biggest threats to the movie industry because even if they're not as high budget or as well thought out, it's exactly your niche. Whatever you as a person want, someone's going to make a 30-minute, 20-minute video exactly that for you for free. And it's really crowding out the ability of Hollywood to make what they used to be able to make. 56% of Gen Z and 40% of millennials find social media content, and that includes YouTube, more relevant than traditional TV or movies. And they feel a stronger personal connection to social media creators than TV personalities, which we monetize. So the last thing I want to say, that's the demand side. We talk about the supply side. The last thing I want to say that's really interesting about Hollywood and the movie industry right now is Xi Jinping. He's a great actor. He's going to be shaking things up.
Wait, is he woke or not woke?
Oh, he's as woke as they get.
Okay.
Nobody's,
All right, good.
nobody's woker
Classically.
than classic Xi Jinping. Because you're talking about ChatGPT later, I used the new filter they added to make him
Oh
Studio
my
Ghibli.
God. Dude, this kind of rips.
Doesn't count.
Wow.
I like him more. He's friendly.
Dude, this
I would let him lead me. Yeah.
Anyway, so Xi Jinping. So the 14th movie last year. I said the 13, right? The one right below that was this movie in China called YOLO. And it's an entirely original movie about a woman who's down on her luck, who takes up boxing, and it's a comedy. This was a hit in China. And it was big enough to not get maybe on everyone's radar, but 14th in the world last year. And one of the biggest non-sequel, original property movie. This year, they decided to go into sequels. And they released this movie called Ne Zha 2. This movie has broken every record you can think of entirely inside the Chinese domestic box office. It is a massive, massive, massive cultural hit. This is, if I can play the video, let's see. This is a group of factory workers being given the day off work to all shuttle bus to the theater, print out thousands of tickets, and watch Ne Zha 2. It is a cultural phenomenon there that has now broken $2.1 billion in the box office. Which
2.1 billion? That's almost Avatar, like
exactly
Endgame
right.
level.
Chinese theaters don't need Hollywood anymore. For this first time this year, we are seeing a movie hit global top heights of box office, and it did no sales in America, like a few million maybe, nothing. And it did 1.8 billion in China. So it's again, so far in 2025, Ne Zha 2 has outgrossed every other movie in the world combined
Jesus.
in every market. It is a wake-up call that is not fully appreciated by people in Hollywood yet, where no one saw this coming. After
I feel like
year.
the wake-up call is a bunch of Hollywood executives are going to be like, we should make sequels for China. Like that's going